All right, let's talk about books. Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. I really have always loved long form content. I wanted to try to make some of my own. Don't know if I'm going to be any good at it. I thought I could start with what I read in January. My reading goal this year is at least 50 books. That's like my minimum, because to me 50 books is basically a book a week, and that's very doable. Please like this video and follow the channel if you enjoy this video or just want to see more content of mine. I plan to do book content, art content, lifestyle content, maybe a little bit of fashion content. I haven't decided yet. Just a little bit of everything. Everything to appease my little Gemini brain in here. And follow me on Instagram, pesto.fresno, same name as here. That's probably where most of y'all are coming from, to be honest. But I read 7 books in the month of January. Editing Mare's here. I realized this is coming in at the end of February. I was sick basically all of February. I could not film this video. I had plans. They did not work out. Please don't get mad at me. I promise the February one will be timely. Thank you. Most of them were horror books, to be honest. I think this is the only one that's not a horror book. It's probably my favorite genre. You know, I like sci-fi, fantasy, horror, literary fiction. But yeah, I'm gonna rank these 7 to 1. I had no DNFs and I only had 1 4-star. The rest of them were 5-star. You will learn I really don't rank very seriously. If I like the book, it's gonna be 5-star. If I have one thing wrong with it, it's gonna be 4-star. If anything gets like a 3-star below for me, it was terrible. I hated it. That's basically the summary. I have my iPad here, which I've written notes, and I have copy and pasted summaries of all the books, because if you think I'm coming up with summaries, you're wrong. I'm simply not brainy enough for that. So yeah, let's get into it.
It's party time!
My 7th book is Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. The summary I have is from Goodreads. I took all of my summaries from Goodreads except for one is from Wikipedia. So I will be reading it on here because I'm not memorizing anything. In June 1993, a group of young guerrilla filmmakers spent 4 weeks making Horror Movie, a notorious, disturbing art house horror flick. The weird part, only 3 of the film scenes were ever released to the public, but Horror Movie has nevertheless grown a rabid fan base. 3 decades later, Hollywood is pushing for a big budget reboot. The man who played the Thin Kid is the only surviving cast member. He remembers all too well the secrets buried within the original screenplay, the bizarre events of the filming, and the dangerous cross lines on set that resulted in tragedy. As memories flood back, the boundaries between reality, film, past, and present start to blur. He's going to help remake the film, but at what cost? Now, this book, the concept was so intriguing to me. Because, like, thinking about it, I would have definitely been one of these people online who's like, oh my god, 3 scenes of a horror movie that never got created. Yes, please. So, like, I get the concept. I had heard very differing opinions on this book. I personally am somewhere in the middle. It is split into 2 sections. It's kind of split into like a then section set in 1993 and a now section set in the present day. The then part of the book felt so well written, so tense, so scary. There were some scenes where I was genuinely like freaked out at what was going to happen. And then you get to the now scenes and it kind of felt like the author, Mr. Tremblay, gave up. They were very boring. They were exactly what I thought they would be. Also, this book references COVID a ton. I don't know if that's just a me thing. I hate when a book I'm reading references COVID, makes a bunch of jokes about it, just because it's like, I was there. I lived through it. The ending felt very sudden, very kind of out of left field and not in a good way. This was my 4-star book. It honestly was not bad. I know I'm giving it a lot of critiques, but it really wasn't bad. I do recommend it. I recommend it as a palate cleanser for reading heavier books. You know, it's pretty short. It's pretty easy to get through. All in all, I do recommend this book. Just because it's 7 doesn't make it absolutely terrible. This was just a really strong month for me. And now we're going to number 6.
This kind of defiance of the...
At number 6, I have Stephen King's The Mist. Again, got my little iPad here. Gonna read a summary. This one is from Wikipedia. Small town of Bridgeton, Maine is shrouded in a dense mist that conceals otherworldly creatures. The protagonist and narrator David Drayton, who has taken refuge with his young son in a supermarket, tries to survive against not only the creatures of the mist, but also fanatical aggression from the other survivors. Now, if that sounds familiar, it's probably because you have seen the movie of this book. I think it came out 2000? Sometime in the 2000s. I saw the movie before I read the book, honestly. I will just, no spoilers, but I will say the movie ending is not like the ending of the book. And I have to say I prefer the movie ending. I think even Stephen King has said he preferred the movie ending. I don't know what psychopath came up with that ending, but I would like to speak to them. This is honestly only ranked at 6th because of the length. It's 164 pages long, so not a long read. I think there's even an edited down version of this in one of his short story collections. I honestly recommend this version. I think a shorter version wouldn't have felt as fleshed out or complete. There's a lot of fun characters in this. Does a very good job at describing the tension and the claustrophobia that would take place being stuck in like a 7-Eleven during the apocalypse. My only complaint about this book is that the character spends the first third of the book talking about how much he misses his wife, how much he loves his wife, how much he can't wait to see her, and then proceeds to cheat on her with really no sort of reasoning. That was just weird to me, but I can't complain. This is a great book. Again, really quick read. I would recommend this as a palate cleanser between maybe Stephen King works, because it's like, it's still in the vibe, you know, it's still small town Maine, but it's short, it's sweet, it's snappy, it has a point. So that was number 6. On to number 5.
Beg your pardon?
Feed me!
Tui, you talked!
My number 5 is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. Sam Montgomery is excited for a rare extended visit to her mother's home and looking forward to nights with just the two of them, drinking boxed wine, watching murder mystery shows, and guessing who the killer is long before the characters figure it out. Sounds like a dream. I'm in. Where's my invite? But stepping inside, she quickly realizes home isn't what it used to be. Gone is the warm, cluttered charm her mom is known for. Now her mom jumps at the smallest noises and looks over her shoulders even when she's the only person in the room. And when Sam steps out back to clear her head, she finds a jar of teeth hidden beside the magazine-worthy rose bushes, and vultures are circling the garden from above. To find out what's got her mom so frightened in her own home, Sam will go digging for the truth. But some secrets are best left buried. T. Kingfisher. I love her writing. She is so creative. She's the author of one of my current favorite series. One of the books is actually in here. This book has a very special place in my heart. It's set in the South. The main villain is the protagonist's racist grandma, which if you live in the South, you either knew someone with a racist grandma or you had a racist grandma. The main character, I love her. I adore her. The main character in this book, so funny, so witty, so charming. Also an alcoholic. I did not realize boxed wine in the summary meant like 3 boxes of wine every night by herself. But every girl's allowed to have her hobbies. I get it. The plot was really great in this. I thought the pacing of this was super weird. It started off really slow, and then probably the last 50 pages is when it actually started picking up. Like, I would say most of the plot happened in the last 75 pages, which is fine. That's some people's writing style, and I get it. It was very enjoyable. It didn't stop me from enjoying the book. The tension was there. It was really felt. It was very relatable. As someone from the South, I saw a lot of the people around me in these characters, in the grandma, in the mom, in the eccentric neighbor, in the little gardening boy, in the main character herself. I thought this was awesome. Definitely recommend this read, especially if you're looking to get into T. Kingfisher. Very enjoyable. This brings us to number 4. Number 4 is What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. Let me read you the summary before I start freaking out. After their terrifying ordeal at the Usher Manor, Alex Easton feels as if they just survived another war. All they crave is rest, routine, and sunshine, but instead, as a favor to Angus and Miss Potter, they find themselves heading to their family hunting lodge deep in the cold, damp forests of their home country, Galatia. When Easton arrives, they find the caretaker dead, the lodge in disarray, and the grounds troubled by a strange, uncanny silence. The villagers whisper that a breath-stealing monster from folklore has taken up residence in Easton's home. Easton knows better than to put too much stock in local superstitions, but they can tell that something is not quite right in their home, or in their dreams. I tell y'all, this series, I think it's called the Sworn Soldier series, I believe. There's only 2 of them. A 3rd one is coming out in September, I believe. This series is so fire. The main character is so interesting. All of the side characters we have met, so interesting. It is adaptions of different folklores or stories. The first one was an adaptation of Fall of the House of Usher. Okay, I went to just get it. This is the first book, What Moves the Dead. It is, like I said, an adaptation of the Fall of the House of Usher. This is based on actual European folklore. I don't want to spoil it. They are so fire. I cannot wait for the other one. I just think these 2 books are worth a read, even if you're not interested in horror. They aren't necessarily scary, but the world building just pulls you in, and the main character is such a good vessel. This one explores the lore of the country a lot more. It has this fake country, Galatia. Everything else is set in just normal Europe. So you kind of get to see the way this fake country interacts with this totally real country. Like the first book is set in Britain. I highly recommend this book. It would be much higher if the 3 books I have in 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place were read this January. On to number 3.
Nothing bad ever happens to the Kennedys! Wow!
Before I say anything, there are some fiction literature bros who are about to be mad at me. And I just have to say, I don't care. My 3rd place is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. On November 22nd, 1963, 3 shots rang out in Dallas. President Kennedy died and the world changed. Unless... Oh my god. Oh my days. This is, as you can probably tell, time travel historical fiction. This is not Stephen King's usual. I was fully aware of that when going into this book, but I wanted to try it. I had only heard great things, and I only have great things to say about this book. He himself had an idea to write this book in the 70s, but he wanted to wait until he was better able to research the topic, and I think that definitely paid off. Because let's see, he wrote this in 2011, so that's 40 years of time, and you can tell this is some of his best prose, this is some of his best writing. This is by far his best romance. The romance in this, I got misty-eyed. I won't tell you when, but it hit me. It was really good, and I don't like romance like that. Like, I'm not usually that kind of person. He never lost the plot, which is very hard for Stephen King in his shorter stories, and considering he didn't lose the plot in a 900-page book, kudos to him. Probably one of his most successful endings. He's not known to be the kind of guy who writes a great ending, but I honestly adore this book. I think the ending is exactly how it should be. It feels like a love letter to some of his past books. A major section of this book takes place in the It universe, which I have not read yet. But I'm getting to it this year, I promise. But a major part of this set in the It universe. We meet some of the kids. We spend a lot of time in Derry. I think easily I can say this is probably one of his best written best researched books. All that being said, does not mean it's my favorite of his books. Let's go to number 2.
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
Number 2 is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. Thousands of miles away from the small township of Salem's Lot, 2 terrified people, a man and a boy, still share the secrets of those clapboard houses and tree-lined streets. They must return to Salem's Lot for a final confrontation with the unspeakable evil that lives on in the town. This book, I adore this book. I actually started this book after Christmas, so this was the very first book I read in 2025, and it definitely set the expectations high. I will say, I'm just gonna say, the summary I just read you, terrible summary, but I couldn't find a better summary anywhere. We get a prologue from the present, and then the big chunk of the book, like 600 pages or so, are set in the past, and then we get an epilogue from the present. So a prologue of the man and the boy's experiences, and then an epilogue of the man and the boy. Stephen King has said this is his favorite one of his works, and I fully understand why. I'm inclined to agree. I totally get it. This is kind of him at his best. I think if you ask someone to write a stereotypical Stephen King book, this is the book they would come up with. It's small town Maine, small town Americana, but there's something deeply wrong. A lot more about an ensemble cast. We read 5 or 6 different point of views throughout this book, and we really explore each resident of Jerusalem's Lot and see their behaviors and see their fears and see what they love, and that makes the plot line of this story so much more meaningful. I think everyone should go into this book as blind as possible. I personally did not realize what the main danger of this book was before I read it, and that made it so enjoyable because I genuinely realized what was going on alongside the characters. This would be my number 1 book for the month of January, easy, and probably one of the top contenders for this year, honestly, if it wasn't for
He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodle car!
my number 1 book is Misery by Stephen King. This summary I actually wrote myself. That should show you how much I love this book, that I was willing to do that for it. His name is Paul Sheldon, and he's a best-selling novelist who has finally met his biggest fan. Her name is Annie Wilkes, and she is more than a rabid reader. She is Paul's nurse, tending his shattered body after an automobile accident. But there's more to her than what meets the eye, and when she learns of the terrible fate that befalls Paul's golden character, Misery Chastain, well, she'll do anything to make him change it. I know, I ate, it's okay, you don't have to say it. I think this book is underrated. Honestly, I'm willing to say this. I think this is one of his clear best books. It is such a masterpiece. This feels like a TED Talk on how to create real tension and real fear and real claustrophobia. The main book, 300 pages of this 330-page book, takes place in the same exact room, in the same exact house, looking outside the same window. 100 pages even take place in a bed. Like, he doesn't even leave the bed until a third of this book. I watched the movie first, and I would be remiss if I did not praise the great Kathy Bates, because when I was reading this book, I could only picture her as Annie Wilkes. I don't know what casting director watched Kathy Bates fall from the sky. Perfect timing for her to be cast in this film. But she is Annie Wilkes. I honestly do recommend the movie because it gives you such a good viewpoint on how to go into this book. You can tell King was really pulling from his own experiences as a famous writer to write these 2 characters. He has said himself he wrote Paul as a self-insert pretty much. Annie was terrifying. The main character, Paul, like, his fear was real, and I think Stephen King writing about his own emotions made this book so much more potent. I have learned this is an unpopular opinion, but I really do think this is one of his best books. I would recommend this to anybody trying to start out Stephen King, because it's not the most gory, it's not the most scary, but it builds such a sense of dread, and it's really him at his strongest, in my opinion. So that's it for my January reads. Now I will show you what I am reading or what I have read in February, just to give you a little sneak peek. I have read 3 books in February, and I'm currently working on 2 that I feel pretty confident I will finish before the end of the month. I'll probably be 5 or 6 books for this month's recap reading. The ones I have read, I think this is pronounced Monstrilio. I'm probably very wrong. By Gerardo Samano Cordova. Love. I just finished Cujo by Stephen King last night. This book, I'll talk about in my review. This book surprised me. And then I've started Stephen King's famous short stories with Night Shift. I believe his first short story collection. I think I'm gonna make a separate video about this and rank each of the stories individually. So, I don't know. Be on the lookout for that, I guess. In terms of what I'm reading currently, we've got The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. I wanted to get into the Discworld series. I couldn't find a good starting point that everyone was agreeing on, so I'm just going for the beginning. I love it so far. I'm not that far in, but... And then my other book is 1984 by George Orwell. Me and this book have beef, but I do enjoy it, and it is very important to read. I'm about, almost done with that one, actually. Thank God. It has taken me so long to read that book. I don't want to talk about it. This is what February is looking like for me. I plan to post some art videos soon. I only have 2 pages left in my sketchbook that has lasted for so long, and I just want to be done with it, and I will be posting that sketchbook tour. I'm pretty proud of it. I might do like a desk tour. I don't know. I'll have a reading video soon, either Night Shift or my February reads, whichever comes first. Again, follow me on pesto.fresno. I'll do art videos there. I might do a few book videos. I might make a supercut of this video to post there. That's probably it, honestly. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you made it to the end, leave a duck emoji, because I have this here. So thank you so much. Have a lovely day. I love all of you so much. Thank you for watching. Okay.